he's got. All right, we are moving on to council reports. We'll begin with Councillor Danaka.
This is a meeting from February, since we had delayed our council reports. For the museum, the AGM is coming up this Thursday. Everybody's invited. Hopefully we get some new members. Basically, the stuff from February, there's some issues that were noted by Darlene regarding the furnaces. Nothing terrible. They phoned a fellow when he came, and there was a piece of paper jammed in the fan. She had to call Mike Denty because there was some condensation and water leakage, but they figured it was just because of the warm and cold weather that we were having there. Just a reminder for the tea honoring Dr. J.B. Wood. They were approached by Twice as Nice to see if they could the museum could assist, but unfortunately our volunteer base is quite small, so we bowed out of that. We had some people come forward asking if we were going to have the bench show again that we had for Culture Days, but the board decided, due to the extensive work involved and the smallness of our board, that we were going to take a break for this coming year. And basically that is it from the museum. I move my verbal report for information.
Thank you, Councillor Danaka. Mayor, did you hear her museum report? There's an AGM coming up this Thursday. There was some furnace issues.
I got that.
Okay, good.
Yep, I could hear her.
Okay, questions? Councillor Wakel.
What time was that AGM at? It's Thursday, but like
6 o'clock.
6? Okay. I'll mention that on my spot as well.
Question?
Yeah, this is kind of following James's. They're having trouble recruiting volunteers or people for the board, or?
We've had no new members come forth to join the museum board, so basically there's 5 people and myself.
So what do you guys do for advertising that?
It is, I believe it's advertised in the paper. It's on Facebook. I believe she's advertising it on the sign, I believe. And yeah, that's it.
So how can council help with this? Just word of mouth?
Just word of mouth. If you know of anybody, just say, hey, the museum is looking for people to join the society. Anybody that's interested, they're more than welcome to come to the AGM.
What's the commitment, Councillor Danaka? Is it once a quarter, once a month? Your meetings?
Every month.
Any other questions for Councillor Danaka? Okay, well, she's got you'll move your...
I moved my report for information.
Okay, all in favor? Very good, carried.
The same. I didn't report, so this is going back to the past month, and it is the Children's Resource Council. And just want to say, like, the Children's Resource Council is doing a phenomenal job in meeting the needs of families in this community. both in terms of programs, but also in terms of engagement and providing at times meals and stuff. So I continue to be majorly impressed. I might be biased, but with the turnaround and what's been happening in the last little while. So, and then secondly, I had a business person come talk to me and would like to know, and so I'm just asking, because it's my time, I'm just asking, do we have a, like if a person wants to bid on something, say in our recreation facility, do we have a process that they can follow to possibly bid on, like if they're doing the where you sell food, the canteen or whatever in the arena, or do we just maintain the people that are in there?
I've instructed the rec superintendent that it must be tendered this year.
Okay,
It hasn't been tendered for ever,
okay,
which is not good protocol. So any opportunity related to that type of venue on any town-owned facility should be tendered.
tendered, yeah,
Generally, given the nature of those operations, it's usually a 5-year lease
Yeah.
because of the investment required for equipment and maybe a potential renewal, but those are things that right now it's been on a handshake.
okay. So is there gonna be paperwork and stuff?
Yep, it will be advertised and
Okay.
proponents will be asked to submit bids.
Right on,
You may notice on the website and or the webpage,
Yeah.
we've done the same thing regarding the campsite.
Okay.
And it's open, an invitational bid, so the current vendor doesn't have right to operate in perpetua.
okay. Thank you. And I move that council receive my verbal report for information.
Thank you, Councillor Dunn. Any questions for Councillor Dunn? Mayor, did you hear his 2 items? He was really happy with CRC's progress and the engagement and how they're meeting family needs. And the eatery at the Gordon Buchanan, he asked, the CAO clarified that it'll be tendered out this year. He just asked what the process was. Those were his 2 items.
Thank you very much, because I did not hear it very well.
Okay,
Thanks.
any questions from anyone else? Okay, well then we'll vote. All in favor? Mayor, you're in favor? Okay. That's carried. Mayor, why don't you go next?
All right, I attended, since our last one, a recreation meeting, and some of the things we've already talked about as council with, because this happened after our last meeting, but things like the splash pad and the tournament rates and the new hockey tournament were all discussed at recreation. They're also asked both administrations to work together to come up with a new terms of reference for the recreation committee. What else? Oh, we had a report that the High Prairie Pool was one of 4 selected to do lifeguard training in the province, and a lot of that, the cost for the training would be covered, so that was good news. There is no morning swims going on right now because there isn't enough lifeguards to work the morning swim. A lot of the lifeguards are high school students and they're back in school. And I think the other big key thing for me was that school bookings are up for 23-24. The number of bookings has been up in mostly the arena, but they expect the pool to go up, especially starting in the spring a little bit more too. I attended a Northern Alberta elected leaders meeting. One of the topics was about victim services units, and there was some concerns expressed with the new format they're using, and that, but a lot of people were still saying we'll have to see how it shakes out, but generally just some concerns. A report from highways on which highways are getting developed in and around, and there's a whole bunch of them, and you could go to the transportation's website and you can see which ones are on there. They talked about homelessness in Peace River and how they are trying to work against that. They talked about the getting the convicts that get released from the Peace River Correctional Institution and making sure that they have a way to, get home, that kind of thing, as opposed to just stranding them in Peace River. We had several MLA reports, and one of the ones that was interesting was MLA or Minister Lowe talking about fire and the action they got and how they're starting early on fire control, and that they've got an extra team in and just one interesting thing that we sort of related. I'm at ASHA right now, and Alberta Municipalities is here, and when talking with them at the trade show, they were indicating that they have a grant to go green, and so it's something that we had talked about the furnaces for the arena. That would be a good lead to start looking into for grants for that. And I'd move my report for information.
Questions for the mayor? Councillor Dunn?
I'm wanting to know about victim services and the new format. Are you talking about dollars being handed out differently?
Did you catch that? It's about victim services and what the new format is for dollar allocation. Is that the issue? Is it being done differently?
Well, no, they're dividing the province up into 4 units, and each of those units is supposed to have additional specializations available to the smaller units. So there's some concern that they're not going to get those units. There's some concerns that there won't be as much personal support in each community because they've got these other specializations. But it hasn't, I think it's a change, and lots of people are just worried what's going to come out of that and how it's going to fall out. But no, it wasn't a funding issue. It was reformatting how it's being delivered.
All right, thank you.
Sounds horrible.
Yeah.
I have a quick question, Mayor. So the Northern Elected Leaders meeting, did you happen to mention our economic development meeting coming up here? Just because that's the right audience.
That was before we had that we had made a motion to do that, because this was back
Once we pick a
2
date.
weeks ago or a week ago.
Sure.
Yeah.
Once we pick a date, though, could you, since you have that contact, just send out an email to your group and invite them?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the mayor? On his
Oh, I
report?
should add one thing that's coming up. We did send out, we had a motion before to send out letters to the gas stations, try to get a response for why gas was so high. Chevron reached out actually today and said, hey, I'd just like to talk with for a little bit, so I've got a meeting sitting tomorrow, just a phone call meeting, and see what he has to say, and then, depending on what that is, I was thinking we could get him into council maybe and doing a presentation, or at least speaking to council on that.
Yeah.
No other companies have reached out.
We'll start with Chevron.
Wakel's happy to start with Chevron. Okay, well, motion to move the mayor's report, all in favor? Good, it's carried. Councillor Stenhouse.
So going back, I think I started a little bit February 5th and 6th on the workshop in Whitecourt with the social economics. I know we talked about it at the Committee of the Whole. And then on February 26th, I attended along with the mayor and another councillor ICF meeting at Big Lakes County. It was scheduled as a meeting, but it didn't go very far. They were stuck on terms of references, and so it was scheduled as a meeting, but we didn't have a meeting. And I move my verbal report for information.
Questions for Councillor Stenhouse? She touched upon two items, Mayor. The Economic Development Workshop beginning of Feb and the ICF meeting. Those were her two items. Any questions for her?
No.
Anyone else? Okay, all in favor? Perfect. That report is moved. Councillor Wakel.
I've got a few things. I had a Peace Library System meeting back at February. There, just some notes out of there. Circulation through the Peace Library System has tripled since 2019, and it's doubled since 2022. So this kind of put some stress on the distribution, but hey, it's good. People are using the services. Several libraries are expanding to bolt their 33% expansion they're having. High Level's expanding theirs. DeBolt, was it DeBolt? Hang on, let me get in here. Yeah, there's, where the hell was that? Anyway, one of the libraries, they moved their library into the rec facilities, and it increased their foot traffic by tenfold. I don't know where it was before. Our library's in a really accessible place, so I don't see that as a problem for us, but it's just kind of interesting, you know, it's location.
That's probably Manning.
Yeah, I think so. Peace River's having an issue with houseless people stopping in, and it's really getting to be a problem for them, so they're trying to come up with a solution for that. There's a thing called Grant Connect that's available at some of the libraries. I didn't check to see if we have it at ours, but it's one of those programs that you can use through the library. Has to be used in the library, though. It's, you know, anyways, it's a way to get grants. Okay, there's that. That's good. Loblaws is, I think we all got the email from Chris there. They're opening several new stores around the province. I think it's a good time that we remind them that they own property here, perhaps encourage them to build one here. I'll make that part of my motion. I'll make the motion to accept my report, and then I got a few motions coming out of it. December was kind of a schmoz for some people with their utility bills, especially the people who got their bills online. Some people, they got them late. Our office hours were a little wonky because Christmas was in the middle of the week, and you know, people are distracted by the holidays and everything. So one of the motions I'm going to make coming out of here is I would like for the town to forgive the late charges on the bills that went out and were missed in September, just because there was, I know it's the people's responsibility to pay their bills, but given the holidays, our hours being closed, it's tough to come in. I would like to see those late charges for that time period forgiven, will be my motion coming out of there. The mayor stole my thunder on the rec board for the most part. Thank you very much. Just the arena and pool use. The use is pretty much more than doubled from previous years, so that's good. We got a new business in town here, Gray Bear Homestyle Dining next to the hair garage. Damn good food. Ate there yesterday. Wife even liked it. I liked it. So it's welcome to town. Thanks for that. And this Friday is game one of the playoffs for the Red Wings. 7:30 is the puck drop. So stop by and see the boys put on a show. So I will move my report for information.
Did you catch those items, Mayor? Peace
I
Library,
caught some of them, not all of them.
okay. Peace Library, Loblaws is coming to town per Chris's email to us.
Well.
And the December bills, any late fees in December to be forgiven, but that's not a motion on the floor yet. What am I missing, Michael?
The new restaurant and the
Oh,
playoffs on Friday.
right. Any questions for Councillor Wakel, Councillor Stenhouse?
So with the library being so busy, do they know which part has increased? Is it the after-school program?
It's all of it. You know,
All of it?
circulation is up. I know our programming here is packed. They're locally they're really happy with the turnout for the programming. There's chess 2 or 3 days a week. Yeah, so you know, and that's and this report for the circulation, that's for the entire system in general, right? But like our library it's busy. It's not just a box with books.
Okay, good, thanks.
Any other questions for Councillor Wakel? Okay, seeing none. His report was to move for information. All in favor? Perfect, it is
Okay.
carried.
Now, coming out of that, let's see, I would like to make a motion that administration write a letter to Loblaws, congratulating them on their record profits and reminding them that they do own property here in town, and we'd love to see some of their expansion come here. I'm sure administration will word it much better than I would. That's why administration should write it. So yeah, I'll make that motion to start with.
Did you hear that motion to write into Loblaws, congratulating them on their record profits and to remind them that they have property in town? Worded by administration in a much more strategic way. Questions for Councillor Wakel on that motion?
No, I do have a comment though, and I did have a contact with Loblaws in the past and was talking to him about trying to come into town. I did try, once I heard that announcement, to call that contact, but that number was no longer valid. I just wanted to see if there was any thoughts of coming to Highbury with one of their new stores, but did not hear anything.
Okay, anything else for Councillor Wakel? If not, the motion's on the floor. Let's call the question.
Is it for a letter to be sent?
Yeah, this is the letter to
Letter
Loblaws.
Directing
Yeah.
administration to send a letter, right, so all in favor? Okay,
Okay, and my second motion coming out would be to have administration. Now, is it the bill for December? You know what I'm talking about, though, right? So the late charges from the bills that were issued the end of December, is that when they were issued?
Could I suggest that, I think the intent is to give a 1 month relief on the bills that were impacted by non-delivery of the normal electronic notices.
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly it. I mean, you'd have to look into that, and
So if you could leave that for administration, because it's always confusing. So if you mention a date, so the January bill really is for December and vice versa, so there's time lags.
yeah,
So if it's just to provide 1 month relief
on the late charges.
on the late charges.
Yeah. Yeah.
so the motion is to provide a 1 month relief on bills
Sent,
sent out through electronic means, and is there a period, like from December to like March?
No.
no, just the 1 month.
On late fees, basically forgiving late fees, that's the relief, 1 month relief. Okay, questions questions on this motion? Okay. Counselor Dunn?
Just through the chair, can I, to administration, do you have, like, just off the top of your head, sort of
A dollar part,
projected?
yes. So one thing, again, the policy states that no relief should be provided, so council should be aware that this would be another incident where council has not complied with their policies, but that's fine. In addition, I believe the cost would be roughly $800 to provide relief
The total of all late fees.
related to electronic billings.
So I didn't hear that. I was just wondering, like, I wanted to hear the thoughts on, because I know that I totally agree that we shouldn't be charging them interest if it was the town's issue and getting them their bills out in time and that they weren't emailed and they were supposed to be. And I know we did have email issues, so I agree with that. But what was the timeframes on around that, and I guess what does our CAO think of it?
The CEO just weighed in and said it was, he gave us sort of a rough figure. He said that, there is a policy in place. We would be not following that, but that's okay. It's a one-time relief for the electronic billings, forgiveness of just those, not any other form. Anything else you want to add?
$800.
$800 in total, approximately $800 in forgiveness of cost. Did that answer your question?
Went from gargling marbles to chewing on them.
Really 1 month relief.
Well, because
It was a 1 month time.
it is a 1 month relief, but because the dates are such that it can be December, January, administration will figure that out in terms of when the electronic system malfunctioned or whatever it was. But that's the rough amount. Councilor Denanga.
So the issue was with our electronic billing process?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand this. That was.
It was kind of twofold, as people weren't getting their bills.
I was asking the CAO.
Oh, sorry. It's sort of the same.
Yes, and it all relates to the change in the firewall and not being licensed correctly. That's been rectified by our carrier, so we are now licensed correctly. The previous vendor did not have the appropriate licenses in place, and they expired, and the like. So yes,
Okay.
it was,
It was our fault.
one could coin it that way, yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Councilor Yushishin?
So that's, but the time period is for that December, well, you'll figure out when that time frame was. So basically it'd be December, January. I'm just making sure that something isn't missed or people aren't missed. So you'll know when that time frame is, right? So you'll be able to capture it all, or capture everyone there.
I believe the intent is, the issue was resolved within that 1 month window, so that's why I'm recommending to council that whatever penalties were in that 1 month window be provided relief.
Okay, did you catch all of that?
No.
All right. The issue was on our end, it was a firewall issue while the licenses were being reactivated. You have a number, it's about $800 for that 1 month relief.
Oh, a total of 800
Yes,
for everyone, 800?
yes, correct. CEO's
Okay.
nodding, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, are we ready to, anything further, or are we ready to vote on this? Okay, sounds like we're ready to vote. Okay, all in favor? Perfect, it's carried. Any other motions, Councillor Wakel? Okay. Okay. Moving on then to Councillor Yushishin.
I don't have a report because I was able to get my February meetings in very quickly. I don't think I've spoken that fast in my life. So I have no report.
Okay, thank you. I've got a couple of items. So I'll start with yesterday's in-person engagement that Alberta Health Services put out. It was at the Peabody Inn and Suites. There were about 30 attendees. I recognized some of them. They were people from our community, councillor from Big Lakes County, CAO from Big Lakes County was there, myself from the town. There were AHS employees that I recognized, both former and present. We were broken up into 3 groups. There were a number of AHS Government of Alberta facilitators, as well as 2 representatives from PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers. They didn't really introduce themselves. I just happened to be speaking with one of the women, so I think that perhaps PwC did some sort of analysis work on this project. The entire, I have it written down, but because it was last night, I didn't send it out to Bailey in time. The whole mandate is to refocus healthcare in Alberta. It sounds better than dismantling AHS. So they want the public's feedback. They are very interested in the well-being of our frontline workers and prioritizing the patient outcomes, but also having a seamless patient journey. They have decided through this restructuring to come up with 4 organizations. They are going to essentially operate them like 4 business units. That way there'll be accountability, better efficiencies, they believe. The 4 are primary care, acute care, continuing care, and mental health and addictions. They've broken those out as the 4. The reporting will be to the Minister of Health. While Minister Adriana LaGrange wasn't able to come, she was there via video, and her thing was that the future of healthcare in Alberta is in our hands, the people. And she and her newly created team, there's a team called Refocusing Healthcare in Alberta. That team's aims are to improve things for all of us. The workshop format was fantastic. They packed a lot in 2 hours. We first went through and identified strengths and weaknesses. Some of the members from this community, long-standing members, George Key and his wife happened to be in my group, so they had a lot to share. We came up with potential solutions to the above problems, and then we were all given one wish, as if there was a genie and we were given one wish. For us personally, the helipad came up, chemotherapy came up. The first thing that I brought up was having babies, maternity, back at the hospital. They also presented that there would be 12 plus 1 advisory councils. This is their mandate to give local leadership and have local input. So it sounded like they were going back to a regional approach for governance, not just a central approach, not this North Zone thing. They were going to bring in these 12 councils, one of which was going to be Indigenous. And one of the recommendations was to have activity-based funding for hospitals. Again, you still can go to the website and present your feedback. It's open. The website's in my report. It's alberta.ca/healthcare. What else? So that's one item. Second item is that a few weeks ago when I had spoken with our sales rep from ADCO, she mentioned that there's a new gentleman that she'd love to introduce to council, Sean Hines by name. She's happy to do an informal discussion, or the 2 of them from Slave Lake are willing to come and do a 10-minute intro to council and see if there's any new projects underway and just to say hello to council. I've met Tanya before, I don't know Sean. And then the other 2 items were my written report for the Economic Development Workshop and the water one, which you guys have all seen. I'm happy to move my report, and I'll take any questions. Councillor Danaka.
This is not anything to specifically do with in regards to your report, but I'm glad that you managed to go to that session, because I tried to register and I was on a wait list. So I'm glad that somebody managed to get in there.
Yeah, I saw your email. I was the only councillor from High Prairie. I also got that same message, and I just wrote to them and said, hello, I'm coming. register me, and she said, well, I'll consider it, send me your name and email. So I did, and they considered it, and that's that. But yeah.
I'm glad that
Yeah,
somebody went.
yeah, I'm trying to think, there were a few people, like 3 of our residents that you would recognize. You know, there was not a lot of council there. There was one councilor from Big Lakes, but everyone else was either a past or former employee and citizens, caretakers and so forth. Anyone else? Councilor Stenhouse?
So how fast do they plan on moving these advisory boards or regions?
Excellent question. They talked about timelines. So right now, we're in the present engagement phase, after which the spring of 2024, they just said spring of 2024 is when they expect to go to. It's also not a firm in stone, right? They'll start something, they'll pivot if need to, they'll reassess, but spring of 2024, and then there was another, like I wish I had it written down, but the fall was another, so quick, they want to do this now. I mean, where's my timeline? Hold on one second.
I'm guessing it'll be a year.
One of my things when it came to wishes, I said, look, start now. So this was number 42. This was the 42nd session yesterday at High Prairie out of 60 that they plan to host. So they've been around to 41 other communities. They have also had separate engagement with Indigenous leaders. So like I said, spring of 2024 is when these 12 advisory councils will come into place. They were talking about having them be elected. They want to disband the existing councils that exist. I don't know if you recall, but I was part of that Lesser Slave Lake. They were called HACs, Health Advisory Councils. Mm-hmm. One of the ladies in my group was part of that, and she was a little unhappy that we're starting again. You know, she's like, well, look, we went through the interview process, we did all of this, why don't we keep the existing ones? But I think they have a different thought about who they want on these councils. And then the fall is acute and primary is going to be launched. Remember I said there was 4 organizations. That's slated for the fall of 2024, spring, these advisory councils.
So can you just clarify, are these advisory councils going to be like we were before? Like
They want to go back to a
a
regional
health
approach.
division, a division?
They didn't call them divisions, they call them councils. They report right up to the minister. The minister, Lagrange, wants
Okay.
to, you know.
I don't mean to bombard you because you just went to that meeting yesterday, but
What I have written down is that I felt like they were coming back to a regional approach. I have local inputs, local decision-making, and regional advice. And we also talked about local funding allocations, and one of the recommendations was to have activity-based funding for hospitals. What that's gonna look like, I don't know. But your inputs, your questions, put them, all of you, I mean, put that, you know, put it down. The more they hear the same things repeatedly, you know, and we also told them to get out of our way for the helipad. It sounded like so Mr. Matthews was there, Ken Matthews, yeah, and also Mr. Key was there, and then the lady from the Ladies Auxiliary, Marilyn Emter, they all mentioned that we have money to do this, so we're not looking, and the CAO from Big Lakes County also said that, so get out of our way. Valley View, the lady who runs Valley View and Fox Creek was sitting there, and she's like, yeah, we just did it. So if they did it, you know, we figure, you know, it shouldn't cost us as much as we think it'll cost us. And anyway, those were some of our discussions. Every table was different, so I don't know what other tables did, but that was ours.
Good, thanks.
It does sound very similar to what there was before.
We want to go back to that.
Yeah.
Councilor Yushishin.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention, I too got that same, I guess I got that same message as you did, and I just kind of thought it was full, so I didn't, but I do plan to reiterate and emphasize some of our priorities as well there. So they've done 41 out of 60. So
42, yesterday's was 42.
So 60 in the province, so that's excellent coverage.
Yeah, they are committed to hearing the public. They they care about the well-being of the frontline workers. They don't want to, they hear that they're stressed out or whatever it is, so they want to, there are 2 things that came out of that, well-being of the frontline workers and patient care, shorter wait times, there were 3 things in that. Shorter wait times was one. Shorter wait times, service disruptions, not having them, and difficulties accessing primary care, especially for us in the rural, in our area. those were some of the things that they want to fix. Yeah, and I had
So
revamped.
some of those would be, I know when we've met with the minister's secretary in the past, not too long ago at AM, I know we had mentioned that
Yeah.
when
Yeah,
we were in that
right.
as well. So we have been emphasizing a fair bit and getting our voice out there. So, great, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Spring of 2024 is pretty quick, so we'll see how they roll this out, unless the CEO has more information on
I'd
this.
just like to, through the chair again, both RMA and AM will be preparing position papers to submit to the minister on the very issues. So I would expect that would change the agendas for the upcoming conferences, either in the spring or late fall. So there will be lots of discussion through those two municipal entities.
Mayor, any questions? Because I'm sitting right here, I'm sure you heard a lot of it. Mayor? Okay, well then I'll move my, written report for, information.
All in favor? Perfect, carried.
With that, we'll move,
As a follow-up to one of the items that was previously discussed and the request was made, Growing the North, if that's the correct name, has reached out to us and they would like council to establish a date prior to April 17th. And they're prepared to come up on
Oh, Growth Alberta.
Growth Alberta. And so we haven't, until that date's established by council, they're prepared to come. We'll confirm that before we notify all the parties, but they're asking council to set a date.
Before April, it has to be before April 17th?
Correct.
Okay. So did you hear that, Mayor? Are you free anywhere between now and April 17th? One other item, this isn't mine necessarily, but do we need to give the fire chief a report on, not a report, but an answer on who's going to go? Because the mayor says he's available. It's open to any of you as well. I don't know what the interest is. April 6th, I believe, Mayor, you said you were available, correct? Do you need any sort of motion?
Not particularly, but again, I just think out of courtesy, if you could either advise myself and I can forward it on to the fire chief, but again, was it the 5th or the 6th?
6th.
The 6th,
Saturday.
right.
I just know I'm away in Edmonton that day.
Okay, so it sounds like, Mayor, it's, you've been volunteered.
That is what we call an NAR nomination.
That's right.
So I will likely also be attending that event.
So, sure, the mayor is gonna go. Can, like, let's say I'm available, can I attend?
Just buy a ticket.
Okay,
It's
yeah. But
No.
is it open to the public? I thought it was just the fire.
No,
Fire.
Anybody can go, you just gotta buy a ticket.
right. So basically, there's tickets available at no cost for councilors. If you want to reserve one, they just basically want to know seating and
Yeah, no,
so.
I get it. Okay, so,
Are you thinking of going?
I am,
Yep.
but the mayor is also available, so.
Because I went last year,
Okay.
and, okay, so some of the invited guests didn't show up. I think the more would be better.
So for that fire thing, we've got the CAO, Mayor, we've got you, because you had said yes earlier, right? That you were available at least. Okay. And I had also said that I was available and would attend. Back to, there was something else we were discussing. So before April 17th, what's everyone's availability for the,
But-
Make the decision April 9th.
Do they want to come as a scheduled delegation, or just,
They
No,
are
we
coming
wanna-
to do a presentation.
not like a 20-minute thing, right?
No, it would be a special.
Yeah, exactly. Like an actual meeting, because this is a working sort of, yeah. So are we looking at a Saturday, you guys, or are we looking at an evening? What are they wanting to do? Because they're coming from, like, I don't know how many hours away.
Can I suggest pick a week and a weekend day for her, because they kind of want to get everything
That's what I
planned.
thought. I thought they
And
wanted a
then-
weekend.
We'll let them decide between the two
Okay.
days.
So April 16th, this is March, wrong month, sorry. April 15th, April 6th.
We're pretty much screwed for the weeks because you have the fire thing in April. We have the committee of the whole on the 13th. We have the gun show the next weekend, so it's gonna have to be a middle of the week evening thing.
How about March, like the end of March, the last Saturday, which is the 30th of March? What's your calendar looking like, Mayor, for March 30th? John?
That's Easter weekend.
Oh, my God.
I'm not here.
For me, April 6th would work better.
What do we have? Oh, that's
That
that,
Saturday,
but that's that fire thing, though, that we're both.
but that's
Oh,
evening.
right, yeah. How about April 6th during the day? That's a good point. Yep, I'm good with April 6th. John? Judy?
It looks like I can make it.
Okay, we'll do the 6th.
Okay, April 6th. Bill, you're good with taking that back? James?
I can't be here.
Come back with the time and
Okay.
where we're doing it.
I imagine we want to do it here.
I would suggest that probably
Legion?
the theater would be a better forum because the number of invitees is
Yeah.
quite significant and it may not be suitable in this room.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you pick the time and location, you've got a date now. So do we need a motion to direct administration, or are you good with?
That's fine.
Okay,
So we'll consult with them tomorrow if that date works. If not,
Perfect.
we'll send out an email just to
Okay.
give everyone a heads up that it didn't work. If it does work, they may have alternative dates that
Okay.
okay,
So we'll wait until you
will
Clarify.
Just tentatively book your calendars for April 6th for those
Okay.
that can make it.
sounds good. Okay, what is next?
What time was that? 8:05. Or the morning, what do you think, 9 or 10?
I would suggest 10 o'clock, and I don't know how long their presentation is, but if it is going to go on, then there'll be a light lunch or something in between. If it's an hour thing, well, then we'll just coffee and treats type stuff, so.
Did you hear that? April 6th, 10 a.m. is the suggestion.
Sure.
Okay.
We'll get the invitation and we'll know.
Yeah.
Are we ready to, is that it on our agenda? Besides the closed session, or do you?
No, I can believe that's the
Okay,
agenda dealt with.
okay, so it is, 8:06, who wants to make the motion to go in committee?